Alrighty, ladies and gentlemen, we are live. Hello and welcome. It is time for round 12 of the Division 2 Championship here at ISRL Esports, and what a show we have for you all today. It is time to take to the Temple of Speed. It's time for Monza. It is time for the Italian Grand Prix. And like I said, I'm really excited to kick this race off. We had great races in Division 4 and Division 3 not too long ago, and Division 2 I'm sure will have more great racing action in store here today, as we're still in the early stages of our short qualifying session. You can see the track is starting to get busy here right now as drivers getting their first flying lap set. And I can already see a little bit of teamwork going on between the Alpha Tauris. That's Jordan and it's Nazareth that are essentially running 2x2 together there on the track, right behind Mike Oxlong, who's just starting a flying lap himself and is going to be leading things off here. So we'll jump on board with Mike in the Aston Martin. We saw him in Division 4, and he's taken to the track here in Division 2, barreling down the long start-finish straight. Braking at around the 100-meter marker for turn 1 and turn 2. Very tricky corner there to get right. There are curbs you can take a little bit in that corner, but seems like he's doing it pretty well. Down through Curva Grande now, the sweeping right-hand corner up until the another hard braking zone into third gear, just taking a little bit of curb there through that chicane. Nice little exit there and through Lesmos. First Lesmos 1, you can take a little bit of can ride a little bit of that outside curb, but you don't want to extend it too much. Through Lesmos 2, a little bit of the same idea, a bit more of a better example there from Mike Oxlong on what you can do down the DRS straight now, the back straight as I'll call it here, leading up into the ever so famous Ascari complex. The final chicane here, but you want to watch out on the exit. You saw that curb on the left-hand side on the exit of that complex. Very tricky. You don't want to be riding that, or else that car might end up in the wall, and that could be the end of your race. Now, of course, one little corner to go, Parabolica, a corner with a bit of a wider apex, a bit of a different line than what you normally take a corner, but across the line it's a 121.8 from Mike Oxlong, who's the first driver to set a time on the board, sets the time to beat, as already it's Nazareth knocking about 0.8 of a second off of that time, near 121 flat. Jordan, meanwhile, not benefiting from the slipstream of his teammate as much as he probably would have liked. It's a 125.7, as I think his role on that first lap was to help Nazareth get up on get up a little bit higher. But VR46 Yarno, he's been on a tear as of late here in the back half of this season, and continuing that charge. It's a 120.561, as that is the new pole position time, or provisional pole position time, I should say here, with still a good amount of time left in this qualifying session. But the only driver thus far to break into the 120s, or the sub 121s, I should say. But we'll see if anybody else can get that done. You've got DeRoy, who's running a lap on the softs and has a bit of a moment on the exit of Ascari there. That is not going to help his time at all, and I think already he might have a bit of an idea of where he can improve. Zuwil, meanwhile, is running a flying lap on the softs through the second Lesmos and heading down the DRS straight, as you can see. Duwil, the championship leader, and as we mentioned last week, as I'm going to continue to mention, has kind of he's relatively run away with the championship at this stage. About a 100-point lead between himself and second place, who I believe is back to Nazareth now. Let's quickly pull that up, as Duwil is heading around the final corner now, heading around Parabolica to cross the line. We'll see if he can improve or set a lap time similar to VR's, and he does. Knocks about 1/10 of a second off of the time set by VR46 Yarno, and that is Zuwil, who is the new provisional pole sitter here, still in these early stages, but sets a fantastic lap, a 120.446 here in qualifying. So doing what he has to do, feeling pacey in Monza is Zuwil, and a lap like that is really going to help him out. see in that is his main championship rivals, the likes of Knight, the likes of It's Nazareth. They're all they're in third, in fourth, and VR46 Yarno is starting to throw a little bit of a wrench possibly into this championship, as he's getting a little bit more involved than some of these other two drivers would like to see him there. Wasn't necessarily there all that much in the beginning stages, but he's creeping back in here and having some solid results is VR. But in third, as DeRoy actually sets a provisional pole time, he goes fastest overall, so 120.376. So we're already starting to see times in the low 120s, but DeRoy on his second lap on those soft tires, he's showing a lot of pace, was already able to very quickly correct the mistake in Ascari that he had on that first lap, and you can see where he's going to end up when he puts that lap together, and it's way up the field, up into P1. So we'll see how long that's going to stick. Meanwhile, Switchback in the Ferrari is running a flying lap, and equally Michael Fures in the Red Bull. He's also on a flying lap. Using the medium tires is Michael Fures. Switchback, meanwhile, is on a set of soft tires as he just comes through Ascari. So we'll stick with the Ferrari driver first to see what he can do here. Now, we haven't necessarily seen him in Division 2 Switchback just yet. So we'll get a bit of an idea of what the pace is looking like initially for that Ferrari driver as he crosses the line. Third fastest, it's a 120.447, so 1/1000th of a second slower than Duwill here so far in this qualifying. So very close times between the Ferrari and the Haas. Michael Fures, it's a 125.1, so a little bit of a banker lap there for him as he sets that on the medium tires, but might be looking to set a second lap here, put something a little bit more closer to the pace. A lot of drivers, when they do go out on the mediums, they like to do a couple laps, maybe 2 or even 3 laps in the case of Com Koala here. But that first lap generally tends to just be a banker lap, and then sometimes they'll either take just a second warm-up lap before going on lap 3, or they'll just go for it right then and there on that second lap with the mediums once they've gotten a little bit more temperature in them. We'll see what Michael Fures can do. For Com Koala, meanwhile, it's not going to be an improvement because that's an invalidation through Ascari, and that is the end of that attempt, and I would not be surprised to see Com Koala head into the pit lane. Meanwhile, elsewhere on track with a purple second sector, Nazareth is on a tear. He's on a roll here on those soft tires, so we'll see if he's going to be able to improve, see if he's going to be able to break into the sub 121s, and already you can see between himself and Knight, it's very close, 1.2 hundredths of a second separating these two drivers. So we'll see if Nazareth can create a little bit more separation on his side as he's going to cross the line. Yes, he does. He creates a lot of that, if I should say. He takes that provisional pole to his own name. It's a 120.240 for Nazareth here as he snags the pole away from Zuwil, who gets knocked down to second, who he himself overtook DeRoy. Now VR coming through Ascari doesn't look to be on a lap right now, so we'll let him do what he has to do. Knight, meanwhile, as he's coming through the second Lesmos corner, he appears to be on a flying lap. So let's see what Knight can do here on his second lap here around Monza. We'll jump on board with the Alpine driver as he's going through Ascari, turn 1, riding the curve for turn 2. Oh no, a bit of a moment there, as a little bit of a spin thankfully keeps it out of the wall, but that's the end of that lap attempt, unfortunately. Will remain in 6th at best for the time being. But I think now we can switch over to VR, or let's see who else is on a lap right now. Michael Fures, I think, on an in-lap, although he did improve, brought that time to a 122.4, but I think needs to find a little bit more, and that might just be a case of putting on a set of soft tires here and going out a little bit later in this qualifying session when the track is going to be a little bit quicker. Lucchesi, meanwhile, running a It looks to be a flying lap right now. Has that DRS open, looking to improve on the 21.3. Jordan as well with a 21.2 on the board. Appears to be starting a flying lap just through Sector 1, coming through the Lesmos. A little bit of a tank slapper there on the exit, to be fair. Not ideal for that lap time. And Sophion with a purple second sector, about half a second up on his best time. So I will stick with the McLaren as Sophion. We'll see if he can bring himself a little bit closer to his teammate in this qualifying session. Possibly, maybe even leapfrog him, overtake him. But let's see what the McLaren driver can do. Across the line he goes, and it's up into P4. So not quicker than DeRoy, but the two McLarens putting themselves in the second row of the grid as of right now, a P3 and a P4 respectively for them. So not a bad lap time all in all. Now let's see what Jordan can do, as he's going to be the next across the line, and he's abandoning that lap. He's diving into the pits. Not happy with the lap that he set, so he's going to go out and do it all again, possibly on a fresh set of tires. Calm Koala, meanwhile, just crossing the line now, getting a flying lap set up and ready to go. So we'll see how that's going to play out. Looks like a Knight behind him did cross the line to start what seemed to be a second lap time for him, but there we go. Now we can switch over. I don't know if it's going to be an improvement on his best lap, as those soft tires are already 2 laps old. I think he maybe just gave it a shot for the second lap and now is going to be diving into the pits. It is Monza. It is a relatively short lap, as you can see, just 1 minute and 20 seconds. So it does allow more than enough time, even here with time dwindling down in the short qualifying session, to take that extra lap and still dive into the pits, get a fresh set of tires on, and find yourself out on track before the end of the session here, once the timer does hit 0 in about 5 minutes time. But Comp Koala, meanwhile, on a flying lap, coming through the Ascari complex, looked to be relatively clean there, I should say, from what I saw on my angle. But with a corner to go, I haven't quite been paying attention to the sector times there. I don't have them up, so we'll have to see where he's going to end up as he crosses the line. Oh, and that's a costly mistake. You can't take that inside line like that, similar to what you could possibly do in the previous installments of F1 back in 2020, I could say. But no, here in F1 2021, you will invalidate, and that's exactly what Comp Koala did here. So it's unfortunately not going to be a lap that's going to count. He will remain in P11 here, and not ideal for the Alpine driver, especially after having a race to forget last weekend around Silverstone. The race didn't last too long, all of 2 laps before he was caught up into an accident, looking to make up for that here today. But with the qualifying down in 11th, gonna have his work cut out for him. Gonna be stuck right in the middle of all that traffic, heading down towards turn 1, and it's always a bit of a, especially here in Monza, it's always a bit of a worry turn 1 with just how quick you barrel down, how quickly you need to be on the brakes, and how slow that corner legitimately truly is, especially when you've got 20 cars, or in our case 14 Formula 1 cars, that'll be charging down towards it here to start the race. But still a little bit to go before that. We have to finish our short qualifying session. Zuil is running a flying lap right now, it appears like. Or no, I think he's actually on an out lap, not using any of that battery, any of that ERS, and immediately just dives right into the pits. So possibly could have been an abandoned lap very early, and just not going to waste more time than he has to. DeRoy, meanwhile, had an invalidation on his previous attempt, so it looks like he might just be going around again. So we'll take a look. He did have DRS open from what we were able to see through turn 1 and turn 2, heading down towards Curva Grande. So we'll have to keep an eye out and see how DeRoy is going to perform here, if he's going to be able to improve on his lap time from that P3, maybe leapfrog Nazareth, or even better for DeRoy, possibly leapfrog Zuwil as well and sank that provisional pole. VR46 Arno had an invalidation he as well here on that previous lap time, so he might need to go again as he's got DRS active. DeRoy, though, he's out of this qualifying session. Oh no, that looks to be in the Lesmos corner section here. So very unfortunate for DeRoy, as I think he might have just lost the car on the exit of Lesmos 1 and hit the wall, and that's the end of his qualifying session. So I'll try to ride on board with, with one of these drivers here if we can actually catch it. VR going across, just passing Nazareth, who's on an outlap, and right on that right-hand side, that was where the car of DeRoy was. It did just disappear, so we didn't quite get to see it, unfortunately. But for DeRoy, that's the end of that attempt. Meanwhile, VR46 Arno, purple in the second sector, so he looks to be on an improvement here on this lap. So let's see if he's going to be improving, if he can maybe jump a few positions from where he is. Currently sitting in P6 right now, will be on the third row of the grid. We'll see if it's going to be any better as he heads towards the line. It's going to be up into P2 for VR46 Arno, so a fantastic lap from him as he splits both Duwil and Nazareth with a 120.159. Nazareth, meanwhile, just starting a flying lap, so he's going to be looking to improve, so we'll have to keep an eye out on him. And you can see everybody else, the likes of Duwil, Sophia on switchback, out on out laps right now. So we'll keep an eye out on that here as Duwil just starting his, following the essentially going around the final corner. But Nazareth through turn 4 and turn 5, approaching Lesmos 1. Let's see how he takes it. A very good line. Oh no, and extends. A very similar, essentially the exact same mistake that DeRoy made. Seemingly, that's what happened at Nazareth. So a second driver out of qualifying here. Unfortunately for Nazareth, he will not be able to compete for that pole position, as it looks to be, at this point, possibly Duwil's to lose, or anybody else's to gain from behind. So Fionn running a flying lap, Switchback starting a flying lap, VR, I don't know, it doesn't look like he's on a lap right now. I think he might just be nursing the tires back into the pits, not using any ERS, not going up into 8th gear. I think that is the case here, as you can see that looks to be possibly one of his teammates that went through. We'll take a look at that. But who is going to be the next driver? I think, no, it's going to be Mike Oxlong, who's going to cross the line, but will not be improving. After that, I think that was VR diving into the pits. Then we've got Switchback diving into the pits. Who's after that? Is it going to be Knight, I believe, as he's going to charge towards the line, and he goes up only into 9th, overtaking Dark. Meanwhile, we've got a Red Bull who's going to cross afterwards. That's Michael Fierez diving into the pit lane. So it looks like relatively uneventful. So Fionn brought that car up into P4 right now. But with the remaining drivers on the grid here, Jordan going a little bit slow. Lucchesi not taking too much of a charge, but we'll see. And the likes of Duwil VR, they're both in the pit lane, so they're not going to be improving. And there goes Lucchesi into the pits, and unless Jordan has anything to say about it, which looking at that time, the 2:20 and counting, I don't think it's going to be the case. So this is going to do it here for our qualifying session. So it's going to be a familiar face, CRL Duwil, who is going to be starting from pole position here at Monza. He will be leading the way off the 5 red lights heading into turn 1. But of course, the question will remain, will he be able to hang on to that P1 on the exit of, well, say on the exit of turn 2 as they head down towards Curva Grande, because you can see how close the gaps are between, essentially between the top 10 pretty much, all separated by 7/10 of a second. But Duil in P1 on pole position will be starting from that top spot on the soft tires. VR on the front row of the grid right alongside him. Nazareth and Sophia on 3rd and 4th, with DeRoy rounding up the top 5. Switchback in P6 here, so a good qualifying from the Ferrari driver. Lucchesi, Jordan, Knight, and Dark round out the top 10, all on the softs. Then you've got the two Red Bulls, Demorts and Michael Furious, Calm Koala, Mike Oxlong rounding out the bottom of the field here, starting in 13th and 14th. Of course, the top 10 will all be starting the race on the soft tires. That's the tire in which they set their fastest lap time on in this qualifying session. So that is the tire they're going to be starting this race on. But those from 11th to 14th and below, if we got a few more drivers, they will get free choice of tires, so they're going to be able to possibly put on a set of medium tires if they want to start the race. Try to go a little bit longer, get the strategy working for them, where pace might not be too strong. But we've got the queue to go. We've got the timer here. Drivers who are just getting their final little setups done here, the final setup tweaks, how they want to go about the fuel, figuring out their pit strategies, all that final race day preparation. Now that they've got a bit of a better idea of what the tires are looking like, what the fuel situation is going to be, what the pace is for the drivers. But here we go. Time has ticked down. We've got the one red light to start off as Zuwil leads the way as the drivers are taking their formation lap here before we start the 5 red lights and the start of Monza, the start of the Italian Grand Prix. Ladies and gentlemen, this is going to be a good one. Definitely not going to be wanting to miss this race here. But as we're heading through turn 1 down into Curva Grande, if I take a look at the detail here, a little unsurprising, the top 10, like I said, all on the soft tires, so they've got the quickest tire compound, but very much split after the or I would say very much a different strategy for those who are able to get the free choice of tires. Both Red Bulls, as well as Calm Koala and Mike Oxlong, all opting for the medium tires to start this race. So expect the top 10 to maybe get a nice little jump here in the first few laps. But of course, once those soft tires fall off, then you might start seeing the likes of Demorts, Michael Furious, Calm Koala, Mike Oxlong start creeping up a little bit more. Once those medium tires get into that optimal pace range and the soft tires start to fall off a little bit, that's when you might start seeing those moves start to happen. But maybe at the start of the race, if all goes well, they might just end up falling down just a little bit. But it's all part of the strategy there. They're going to go longer with that harder compound tire, and we'll see how that's going to work out for them. But the championship leader is leading the charge here on the formation lap, but he's got a lot of hungry drivers right behind him that are going to be looking to come after him here right off the get-go. Of course, the likes of Nazareth and Knight, Knight's a little bit further back down, but Nazareth up into 3rd, the two main championship rivals, and VR, as much as he's down in 6th right now in the Drivers' Championship, he's been on a tear as of late, so you know he has come to race here in Monza. He's going to be going after that win. He wants those 40 points there for his total. But here we go. Formation lap essentially over and done with here in just a few moments. And once the drivers take their places on the grid, we will be set for the 5 red lights and the start of the Italian Grand Prix. Ladies and gentlemen, it is time. It's the ISRL Division 2 Championship. Go up to 3 lights, 4 lights, 5 red lights, and the lights are off quickly, and we are racing here as it looks to be a relatively good start from everybody as they're battling for position, heading down towards turn 1. It's a good start from Duo, but there was VR and Sophion going side by side. Almost a little bit of contact there, but everybody making it through relatively cleanly. But Sophion up into P3, VR down in 4th. A terrible start for VR, 46 Yarno as he's down in P4 right now. Meanwhile, Michael Furious and Mike Oxlong falling down the order here as they're down in 13th and 14th as they're having a little bit of a battle further down, as you can see, as they're through Curva Grande. But the leaders are through turns 4 and 5, heading down towards Lesmos, and everybody else following along suit. There's Lucchesi as we're on board right now, chasing down VR. He's done a good job of keeping Switchback back. Calm Koala, meanwhile, being overtaken by Mike Oxlong. So a decent start for Mike Oxlong there as he's up into P12, already made work of an Alpine and a Red Bull driver here. But Calm Koala coming right back at him as gets the overtake done. There must have been a mistake, maybe an early braking point for Mike Oxlong, and Calm Koala. Oh no, he went for a little bit of a spin on the exit of Ascari, similar to what we saw in qualifying. For Calm Koala, unfortunately, that's a big time loss, and it looked to be wing damage as well on that Alpine. Not what he was hoping for at all in the slightest here before the end of lap 1. D-Mort's having to take a pit stop as well, possibly to get some wing damage fixed up on that car, so not the start he was hoping for either. But other than that, everybody's relatively made it through safely. It looks like there might have been a moment there between Mike Oxlong and Michael Furious as they're falling behind just ever so slightly. But these top 10, they're all sticking with each other, all being led by Do Will. But you can see the charge of drivers, single file, as they're heading through Lesmos, and I figure in a few laps from now, once DRS does get activated, we'll start seeing some drivers really start to go for these moves, start to go for these overtakes, if they won't already. You can see Sophion charging down, but he's not going to be close enough here on lap 2 as they head through the Ascari complex, and this is where you got to be perfect. As we look back, it looks like everybody's relatively made it through cleanly here. A little bit of time being lost, I should say, by a Switchback as they head down towards Parabolica. But you can see Sophion closing up on Nazareth. They're all keeping close. You would have expected Jewel maybe to pull off a bit of a race like we're used to seeing, where he just takes the lead and runs off with it. But in Monza, not going to be the case. Look at this, at how close, how powerful the toe is, how powerful DRS is going to be here once it is active here to start this lap. We didn't get it down into turn 1, but we will be having it now after Lesmos 2, and of course to start the next lap into turn 1. So expect some moves to be made from some drivers here that are really following along suit, needing that extra help to get the overtakes done. But for now, Do Will leading, Nazareth in second, 0.3 of a second behind in these early stages of the race, putting pressure on the championship leader here, not willing to give him too much braking room, just hoping to maybe force him into a mistake here, so we can try to take the lead, closing up into Ascari. But you know, that's going to be a very adventurous move, so to say, if he's going to go for it. But not a great line through Ascari, especially on the exit, and that allowed Do Will to gain a bit more of an advantage. But you can see the toe, you can see the slipstream, how powerful that is here around Monza. Was down to 0.6 of a second and already closed up 0.2. Now you can see DRS is active. It's a bit of a train behind us here. Switchback going to try to make a move on Lucchesi. Meanwhile, Nazareth went for it on Do Will, but just wasn't quite there. VR went for it on Sophion. There's contact there between Lucchesi and VR. A little unfortunate there as VR went for the move. There was a little bit of contact going through turn 2. And for VR, he's down in 10th position now. Meanwhile, Mike Oxlong and Michael Fuhr is having a little bit of a battle, and you can see Dark and Lucchesi were essentially side by side through Curva Grande, but Kay Lucchesi is going to hang on to that P5. Dark, meanwhile, staying in 6th place here. Meanwhile, Jordan getting ahead of Knight through Lesmos, and Knight missing some end plate on that front wing, and that's not going to help at all. As you can see, VR already getting ahead of the Alpine driver, making relatively quick work there. So that might be a pit stop here coming for the Alpine driver. As you can see, the struggle of that car through these corners with that little end plate missing. But heading back to the leaders, it's still Duwil leading Nazareth, leading Sophion. The gap is relatively similar, but if we're going to ride on board with Nazareth once again, let's see if he can close it up this time around. He's got Sophion for company, who's really closing up himself. Is it going to be a bit of a moment into turn 1? You can see alongside, side by side there, a little bit of contact, and oh no, similar to what we saw one lap ago, that's Sophion on that inside line. There's a little bit of wheel contact between himself and Nazareth, and that sends Sophion down the order, down to P9. And for the second time in 2 laps, that's another driver going for a move into turn 1, unable to make it stick through turn 2, and the door essentially just shuts on them. A little bit of contact gets made, and a little bit of a spin there once again for another driver. So hopefully that's just 2 and 2 laps, and that's going to be it. I hope we don't see too much more of that, because very unfortunate for the drivers trying to keep that battle in, but unfortunately just a little bit of wheel-to-wheel contact unsettles the car and makes it that much trickier in a corner section that's already tricky enough to begin with. But back to the action here at the front. We've got Lucchesi chasing down Switchback. So it's the Alpha, or the Aston Martin, I should say, chasing down the Ferrari. Meanwhile, Nazareth not nearly as close as he was 1 lap ago. I don't think there's going to be an overtake here. Switchback, meanwhile, or Switchback, I should say, he might be overtaken down the inside. Here we go. Into turn 1, through into turn 2. Switchback trying to come back with the Switchback, but did not quite work out as Kay Lucchesi up into a podium position. He's up into 3rd place now as he can try to charge after the top 2, and you can see Nazareth through sector 1. He's doing a very good job closing that gap up, but just can't quite seem to stick with Duwil when it matters most. With the DRS sections, especially that start-finish straight section down into turn 1, that really relies on your line and your exit through Parabolica. But once again, you can see through Lesmos too, Duwil just getting a bit of a better exit there. And I think a lot of that has to do with just Nazareth fighting the dirty air of Duwil, so not getting as much downforce as he'd like, albeit he is closing up ever so slightly here in the straightaways. But let's see, we're at the end of lap 6 to start lap 7. Are we gonna get the overtake done here? The gap is about half a second, which might be just a little bit too much for Nazareth to do. But as they charge down towards turn 1, they're closing, but I don't think he's going to be close enough. Trying to maybe show in the mirrors a little bit of contact there between the 2 drivers, but nothing too funky there. And you saw DeRoy trying to go after Dark, trying to go after Switchback himself, but through into turn 1, not much movement there, not much overtaking. Are we going to have a battle through Curva Grande? Not quite, but maybe into this next braking zone. Oh, I thought Dark was going to go for it, but just did not quite have that there at the braking zone to warrant the move. Will remain in 5th. DeRoy, meanwhile, caught right back up after losing just a little bit, but he's got VR on his tail. Meanwhile, Mike Oxlong, Michael Fuhr is having a little bit of a battle. Mike Oxlong not taking an ideal line there. Through turn 4 and turn 5, fighting the car very much so, and that allows Michael Fuhr to get ahead in the Red Bull and get up into a top 10 position. But now DeRoy, I think he's going to maybe go for it down the inside into Parabolica. Is he going to try it? No, I thought he was. He had closed up just about enough, but just did not feel confident, especially knowing that there's going to be that DRS activated here. And they all have DRS, but you can see Dark trying to go after Switchback. Meanwhile, here comes DeRoy getting in on the action. We're 3 wide, just about, going into turn 1. Oh, this might not end well. It ended much better than it did. A bit of a tank slapper from Dark as VR is right behind now. But Switchback able to get P4 out of all of that. He hung on to P4 through all of that, being essentially stuck in the middle line of a 3 wide going through turn 1. A solid drive there from Switchback, and oh no, Dark hop in the curb, and that looked to have made a little bit of a moment there. And as I'm trying to catch the cars, VR had to slow down, and there's a little bit of contact with Jordan, as now Dark and Jordan got involved with one another. Just a corner later in the process, a lot just broke out there. So it was just a jump off the curb, which those who are not aware, here in this game, there's some curbs here on Monza that can really send your car to take off to space. And unfortunately, that was one of the curbs that was written there. So trying to save the car, that was, I think, it was VR that had to slow up in order to not make more contact. But then through the next corner section into Lesmos, that was just a little bit of wheel-to-wheel contact. I think Jordan had that opportunity, tried to go for it, but just was not meant to be. And now Nazareth getting ahead of Do-Will as they're going side-by-side into turn 1 and turn 2, sticking alongside one another. It's all going to be a drag race as they head towards the Curva Grande. Nazareth on the inside, Do-Will on the outside. Inside line will get the advantage for now, as they switch over. Nazareth trying to defend as well as he can, and it looks like he will just be able to hang on to the lead of the race here as Do-Will is down in second. It took 9 laps, but we have a lead change here, ladies and gentlemen, and now the roles are reversed. Nazareth gets the clean air, Do-Will gets the dirty air, but Do-Will also gets the benefit of the slipstream and DRS if he's able to stick within a second. But we'll have to see how Nazareth is going to fare here in that clean air, if he's going to be able to make a bit of an advantage knowing that he's got nobody in front of him, versus Do-Will, who might be losing a little bit more time through the corners, getting affected by the dirty air here emitted by the Formula 1 car of Nazareth, that AlphaTauri that's just ahead of him here. But they're charging down towards turn 1 across the line to start lap 10. And you can see a bit of a similar case to what was happening to Nazareth. Do-Will is within a second. He's closing, but when you're at about 0.8 of a second, you need an absolute mistake, a calamic mistake from the driver ahead to get that overtake done into turn 1. It's all about gap control, damage limitation here. With a gap like that, use the DRS just to close up and keep that gap closed for the next attempt around, as you're seeing here. But so difficult for Do-Will to maneuver these corners with the dirty air, because you can see he's closing up in the straighter portions of the circuit, but just can't quite get that same downforce through the corners as Nazareth is, making it a little bit more difficult to overtake here on this track. But as they come through Ascari, you can see Lucchesi trying to close up as well, hoping that maybe the top two are going to fight a little bit more. We'll keep an eye out on that, as you can see Do-Will much closer now, coming through Parabolica, about 0.4 of a second behind, and Nazareth diving into the pits, so he's going to take that scheduled pit stop. Do-Will, meanwhile, he's going to stay out for at least one more lap. So we're seeing different strategies. VR staying out, but Lucchesi, Switchback, Sophion, they've all had enough. They're all going to put on a set of medium tires to try to possibly go to the end of this race on that set of mediums. So we'll see what Do-Will and VR do, if they're going to try to really extend that soft tire stint, or if they're just extending for one more lap to not get caught up in the pits. See if that pace on track can be enough to get the overtake done without truly having to do it. We'll keep an eye out on that as Duwill makes his way around the around Lesmos 2, it looks like. Meanwhile, Mike Oxlong chasing down his teammate of Lucchesi. They came very close into turn 1 and turn 2, but not meant to be for an overtake. Of course, as teammates, they will be giving each other a lot of room on track, making sure that it's done when it's safe to do so. Meanwhile, riding on board with Nazareth, he's got Michael Fierez ahead of him, running a different tire strategy on those mediums. And for Michael Fierez, he's been able to make those mediums work, but with Nazareth behind him closing, you could see the difference on the brakes with the fresher tires. I'm sure Michael Fierez knew that his race wasn't with was Nazareth, so maybe gave him a little bit more room. Didn't battle as much as he probably would have liked there either. But now you can see the top two are in the pit lane, and here comes Nazareth coming around the final corner now as he's going to head towards the line. It's going to be close. Let's ride on board as the drag race comes down. There's Duwill and there's Nazareth well ahead, so the undercut did work in this stage of the race. Pitting early was the way to go to get that advantage, because you can see the gap is now to 1.2 seconds compared to around 0.5, 0.6 like it was just a few laps ago before this all happened with the pit stops. So Nazareth really making that strategy work for him, but of course he's going to be on slightly more worn tires as this race comes to a close, so we'll see how that's going to affect. Meanwhile, elsewhere on track, it looked like you've got VR46 Jarno overtaking Mike Oxlong to get up into P7, and he's chasing down Switchback in the Ferrari to try to gain another one. 0.4 of a second behind. It's going to be close, but I don't know if he's going to have enough here. Meanwhile, Kay Lucchesi and Michael Fierez exchanging positions. I think for Michael Fierez, a bit of a similar boat here, maybe knowing that his battle isn't quite with Lucchesi. But also I feel like those tires, those 11 lap old tires, might have something to do with it as well, as he's trying to go a little bit longer on this stint. Sorry about that, ladies and gentlemen. But yeah, Michael Fierez trying to go a little bit longer on his stint with those medium tires, and we'll be pitting in a few laps time for the set of soft tires, maybe take them 10 laps to the end. Meanwhile, Mike Oxlong and Sophion went for an overtake, but VR46 Jarno getting ahead of Switchback as they head into turn 1. You would think that DRS very much helped out VR46 Jarno with that overtake, but it's the Williams driver now up into 6th as he's regaining a couple positions on his charge up the field to try to get back involved with the likes of the top 3, or I should say. Ooh, apologies for that, ladies and gentlemen, but I'm back here. But we're seeing VR as he's chasing down DeRoy. Now, DeRoy does have a time-second penalty to his name. Let's take a look at that very quickly. It's a 5-second penalty, so must have been for speeding in the pit lane. So that is going to be added to his time unless he is able to serve it on a second pit stop, but I don't think that's going to be the case. We have a yellow flag, though, as that looks to be Dark just going a little bit slowly. Might have had a bit of a moment through one of the Lesmos corners that are oh so difficult to get right without losing the car, as we've already seen before, and as we might be seeing again. Demorts, meanwhile, that's it for him. He's taking a pit stop, and it's showing a set of soft tires for him. And he's, I think that might just be a visual glitch, that he was on the mediums, but putting a set of softs. And oh no, Switchback had a big moment as it looks like he nearly missed the braking. He lost the back end, I guess I should say, going through into turn 2. Not too sure what would have caused that. I know he was right around the likes of VR DeRoy. But I'm really not too sure what caused Switchback to lose the car there into turn 2. But unfortunately, he's down in 10th position now, and a lot of that progress he had has been wiped away just like that. Meanwhile, here comes VR overtaking Michael Fures to get up into fourth place here, and he does get the overtake done before the Ascari complex. So VR back on a roll here. Next up, close down on Lucchesi here in the Aston Martin. You can see they're close. You can see them in the distance, and that might just be a little bit of motivation VR needs to be able to see in the distance. Meanwhile, Michael Fira is being overtaken by DeRoy, and it looks like it might be time soon-ish to get a pit stop done. VR sets the fastest lap of the Grand Prix just as an extra little added bonus. And of course, while all this is happening up at the top, you can see the battles going on here for the leaders. Meanwhile, Knight getting ahead of Mike Oxlong, and you can see there's the Ferrari, a switchback, trying to get involved with this as well, but just could not seem to get by Mike Oxlong in the process. So the Ferrari is still stuck in 10th behind the Aston Martin, but the Alpine driver of Knight is able to get up into P8 as they've now got a 5-second gap to try to close up to Sophion and this next little group of cars that are being led by VR46 Yarno here for the time being. And there we have it. We have another lead change, ladies and gentlemen, as Zhu Will takes the lead of this Grand Prix, gets ahead of Nazareth through the Ascari complex, I think just before with the help of DRS, but you can see Nazareth right up along the back of him, so this lead could possibly rechange hands once again, depending on the exit of the final corner, and it looks like initially Zhu Will has a bit of a better exit, but now with the help of DRS, here we go, as Michael Fires is out of this Grand Prix. He's out of the session, and that has brought out a virtual safety car. Interesting. What happened to Michael Fires as he came around the final corner? Oh my goodness, he is parked right in the pit lane there, and it looks like he might have just lost the car on the curb of Parabolica and just sent that right into the wall. But unfortunately, fortunately or unfortunately, that is bringing out a full caution safety car now. So no longer the virtual safety car. We are now under full caution safety car, ladies and gentlemen. We're probably going to get about 2-3 laps of this circuit under safety car, and afterwards head back to green flag racing. You can see, though, a couple drivers taking advantage of the safety car to take a pit stop here. Jordan putting on the mediums, Calm Koala putting on a set of medium tires, but the likes of D. Morris, Mike Oxlong, Knight, they're all on the soft tires, which I do think is the tire to go to if you have a set available. They should be able to last 10 laps without an issue, and especially considering you're going to have a lap or two under slower pace under safety car, you should be more than okay to get to the end of the race just on a set of softs. But there you go, Nazareth is pitting as well, DeWill also pitting, and I think this is where we're going to see the rest of the field follow suit. Nobody wants to be caught with... Nobody wants to be caught with the more worn tires under this safety car restart with everybody so close together with the amount of laps left. So I do think it's a good call from the field taking that pit stop. But as they're all getting that sorted out here, as they're all catching up to the safety car queue, ladies and gentlemen, I will just take a quick sip of water, so I will be right back in just a few moments. So thank you so much for watching, and I'll be back with you all very shortly. Alright, ladies and gentlemen, I am back. We are here. It's lap 18 out of 27. We are under full caution safety car for the incident but that happened on Michael Fures, essentially down the start-finish straight right at the pit entrance, which does explain why the full caution safety car did come out. But we should be ready to head back racing relatively soon here, I would think. You can see Mike Oxlong just a few seconds behind the safety car, and there we go. Ask and you shall receive. On at the end of lap 18, the safety car will be coming in at the end of this lap, and we will be going back to green flag racing to start lap 19 out of 27. It's going to be an 8-lap sprint to the finish. You can see just about everybody here on a set of soft tires, other than Dark and Calm Koala. They're really gonna have to focus on getting a bit more heat in their tires than the rest of the field here to try to stay on pace. But here we go around the final corner now of Parabolica. It's looking to be a good start from Nazareth as he heads towards the line. We'll have to wait 2 laps for DRS to be enabled, but drivers should have some battery to work with in the meantime. Here comes DeWill. He looked to be closing, but not closing enough. Sophion, meanwhile, I thought he was going to go for a move on the inside, a switch back, but not quite the case here. Jordan getting ahead of Calm Koala, as now Calm Koala just a little involved with Mike Oxlong as he's trying to get ahead through Curva Grande here for the wooden spoon. But it looks like everybody made it through relatively cleanly here in the first few laps, or in the, I guess the first few corners, I should say, of the first lap is what I meant to say of this safety car restart. But Nazareth is still leading the charge. DeWill 0.6 of a second behind, but he's got a lot of pressure from Lucchesi, as you can see right up on the back of DeWill here. And I was saying, Lucchesi might be a bit of a player here to keep an eye out. He's looking very comfortable here around this circuit here in Monza, and we'll see if he can get this a good result. Into Parabolica now go the leaders. And are we going to see an overtake here heading down towards turn 1? Still no DRS active, unfortunately. So it looks like for now, relying on the slipstream isn't going to do it, unfortunately. So these positions do remain unchanged. But to start lap 21, that is when we should have DRS activated. So one more straight line lap without it, and then we're good to go for the rest of the race. Assuming we don't have another safety car, of course. But elsewhere on track, you can see a couple battles that are brewing. Knight now getting involved, and that looked to be VR46 Toronto getting ahead of Lucchesi. You can see how close they all are. All these leaders, the top 4. Heck, even DeRoy and Knight involved now too. What happened here? There must have been a bit of a slow up somewhere along the way at the front, because now VR right up on the back of DeWill, trying to chase down Nazareth. But Nazareth just has enough of a gap there. Takes a 3-second time penalty, and that is very costly for Nazareth here. He's going to want to hope that the likes of DeWill, VR, Lucchesi get one as well, or he might risk possibly falling off the podium. Knight and DeRoy, meanwhile, a side by side. They're alongside. There's a Ferrari, a switchback going very deep there in the process, missing the braking point. And there's Sophion and Demorts alongside there too. You can see DeWill and VR side by side as they're heading down towards turn 1. There's Lucchesi who wanted to get involved with it, but VR up into second. DeRoy and Knight, let's keep an eye out on this battle here still that's going on. It looks like for now Knight's got the advantage, but and Switchback is out of this race as he retires into the pits. But no, DeRoy's got the advantage now. As you can see, Sophion getting involved, trying to support his teammate. But they're both on the same line, so DeRoy gets ahead, then it's Knight, and then Sophion afterwards. But Sophion coming right back, gets the inside line of Lesmos 1, and waiting for the traction here. There's Demorts who's going to get involved, and oh no, that was DeRoy into the grass, and that's going to be a big time loss as he falls down into 8th place. So it's all on Sophion now for the McLaren team, as DeRoy's going to have to catch back up. But that's a lot to ask for here. There goes Knight down the inside, alongside through Ascari, but Sophion just getting ahead, and Demor's nearly having a moment through the Ascari complex. Now Knight finding an exit and going right back after Sophion. They're side by side here as they're going to head into Parabolica. The Alpine on the inside, the McLaren on the outside lane for now, but as you can see, it's the Alpine that gets ahead. But it looks like, look at the run from Demorts in that Red Bull, as he's going to try to go down the inside. Knight nearly a sitting duck with everybody else having DRS ahead of him there, as he gets a nice little front row seat to this battle now. And between Sophion and Demorts, as they're now going to go side by side. Sophion just can't seem to catch a break here, as Demorts now gets ahead, gets up into P5. He's feeling a lot of pace. Will, meanwhile, he's all the way down in P4. So Nazareth is leading the race, but then it's VR46 Jarno, then it's Lucchesi, and then Will somewhere along the way lost out big time, as he's down in 4th place now, with a 1.4 second gap. There had to be a mistake by Will here. VR, meanwhile, with the help of DRS, getting well ahead of Nazareth, going through Ascari. So that is now a new leader, as VR46 Jarno finds his pace, finds that extra gear, and he now takes the lead of the Grand Prix. Nazareth still fighting with that 3-second time penalty. Not getting any help from some of the other drivers. Unfortunately, hoping to take one in solidarity, in consolidation, but not quite appearing to be the case here as the laps are dwindling down. Lucchesi a little bit of a distance away. Meanwhile, Demort's getting ahead of Will, and is that going to be Sophion who's going to try to go for it? They're side by side there. Oh, they nearly locked up on side. They nearly locked up their side pods. No, a big moment there between Knight and Sophion. They just get caught together on the exit of turn 2, and that's the end of both their races, and that's going to bring out a very late safety car here on lap 23 out of 26. Neutralizing the race here, and it's going to be a green-white checkered, but a very big accident there through into turn 2. The it appeared to be that wonderful Codemaster side pod glitch from my angle here, from my point of view that I got. It looks like they just got hooked together. I thought Sophion was gonna go with Will, but Will was able to get ahead and essentially break free. And then seemingly in the same fell swoop as Sophion came back trying to save the car, got caught right up with the Alpine of Knight, and that was both those cars into the wall, and that is the end of their Grand Prix. But we'll see how things go under safety car. Are we going to see maybe one more pit stop? It doesn't look like it's going to be the case. The only pit stops I can really see happen are maybe the likes of Calm Koala, Dark, as they're on the medium tires that really don't seem to be working. Will, meanwhile, he's going to take a pit stop here. Calm Koala, as I expected. Dark, meanwhile, he's going to stay out on those medium tires. He's going to stick to that strategy this late in the race. But I think Will trying to get a fresh set of boots, going to try to catch back up to the queue here, and maybe try to gain a few positions in the final few laps when he does get a chance to do so. But ladies and gentlemen, as we're back under safety car here, once again, I'm just going to take a quick sip of water, and I'll be right back to take us through the any changes here, and of course the safety car restart in just a couple laps time. Alrighty, I am back, ladies and gentlemen. It's lap 25 out of 27. We are under safety car. The queue has caught back up. The safety car should be coming in at the end of this lap, which will give us about 2 laps of green flag racing, which is more than enough to bring in the action. Of course, we had that late safety car after the moment, the accident between the McLaren and the Alpine. So Fionn and Knight, here you can already see not a great day for the McLaren team, as both drivers are out of this race, leaving some points on the board. But also not the best of days for our championship leader, Du Will, who's down in 8th place right now. Thankfully, he does have a cushion in that Drivers' Championship, so he can afford to have a race like this if he needs it. But seeing his main rival Nazareth up in P2 right now, not the situation that's too ideal for Du Will, and if you're a Du Will fan. But here we go. We got the queue. The safety car will be coming in at the end of this lap. So we will be going back to green flag racing very shortly here, folks, for what is going to be a green, white, checkered flag finish. I am excited to see how this is going to play out. Who is going to take the victory here? Will it be VR? Will it be Nazareth? You can see they're very close to the safety car, now slowing up as VR can handle the pace, but a little bit of an IndyCar start there from Nazareth, as VR going very slow, definitely at their own risk, but they made it through safely. But it looks like that might affect VR just a little bit, as you can see Nazareth down the outside, and lots of movement here going into turn 1, necessarily 2x2 just about, as Lucchesi now getting ahead of Nazareth, and oh no, that's somebody in the wall. That was Nazareth into the wall. A costly mistake there, and that's heavy front wing damage from Nazareth, as Jordan now is into the grass. So the two AlphaTauris falling way down the order into 8th and 9th respectively. Heartbreak for Nazareth, who was running up into 2nd, getting caught up into an accident going through turn 1 and turn 2. Quite possibly an investigation coming on that one. We'll have to see how it all plays out. But VR leading the race, and you can see these 4 cars. Com Koala in 4th, trying to hold off Mike Oxlong, and Du Will is involved with this as well, as he's trying to get ahead, but just can't seem to find a path through these 2 cars to salvage a decent finishing position here. Might get the run now, as you can see alongside of Mike Oxlong, as they're side by side heading down Parabolica. Com Koala shuts the lane off in defense, but you can see leaves the door open on the inside. A nice little sneaky move from Du Will to get up into 4th place and catch the driver napping. But now no DRS, as you can see the other 3 behind all charging. It's looking to be mayhem. Here comes Com Koala. Is he gonna go for it? No, has to miss the corner entirely, because he was not gonna break in time. Has to maneuver the gauntlet there. Comes out in 5th place, takes a corner cutting penalty for good measure, as you can see now restarting or continuing this battle where it left off between himself, Dark, and Mike Oxlong. Meanwhile, Demorts, who's been on a charge for the back half of this race, he's up into 2nd now here as he overtakes Lucchesi, but with a 2-second gap on the final lap of the Grand Prix. It looks like it's going to be could possibly be VR46 Cerno who is going to cross the line in that ideal spot. Demorts also has a penalty to be added to his time, so Du Will, he might still be in this depending on what the gaps are going to be looking like by the time they cross the line. Lucchesi right behind Demorts. Is he going to go for the move, or is he just going to sit tight? He's not going to go for the overtake, but as they head towards the line, it's going to be VR46 Serrano who takes the victory in style there, as you can see Lucchesi in 2nd, and there's, oh my goodness, a big moment there through the line. But what a finale that was. VR46 Serrano, with a drive to remember for himself, takes the win here in Monza. Kay Lucchesi in second, as they've already brought those cars into pit road there, ready for the podium celebration. And DeWill, after all of that, after taking that pit stop with under that safety car in lap, lap 23 or lap 24 or something like that, made it work for him on those fresher tires, got the overtakes he had to do, was stuck in traffic, but still snagged a podium out of it at the end of the day. So there you have it, Mike Oxlong getting voted driver of the day here by the fans in Monza. Good drive from him, and we'll get a nice little view of the podium celebration. There you go, a little bit of a selfie from VR, remembering this moment here. Has to take the video, but very much a well-deserved win, very much a well-deserved victory for the Williams team and the driver here, who, like I keep saying, he's been absolutely on pace here these last few races, and a couple more like this, and he might be able to creep his way back into a top 4, a top 3 here in the Drivers' Championship. But there you have it. That has been the Italian Grand Prix. Lots of chaos there involved, but at the end of the day, it is VR46 Serrano who takes the win. Lucchesi in second, DeWill rounding out the top 3 here on the podium. Demorts finished on the podium on track, but that 3-second time penalty essentially made the difference for him. A little unfortunate there as he comes in 4th. Still a good haul of points for him. Dark rounding out the top 5. Jordan in 6th. Mike Oxlong in 7th. Comqual in 8th. Nazareth in 9th. And there you have the rest of the drivers who DNF'd. The likes of Sophia Knight, DeRoy, Switchback, Michael Fures, who did not have a race to remember here in Division 2. But that is going to do it here for the race. I hope you all enjoyed the action as much as I did here today, but worry not, we have one more race for you all here today, coming in about 45 minutes time. It'll be the main event. It will be Division 1 as they take their turn here around Monza, and if what we've seen already today is what we can expect, it is going to be a good one. You're not going to want to miss that one. But until then, on behalf of everybody here at ISRL Esports, my name is Fallen Monkeys, saying thank you so much for watching, and have yourselves a fantastic day.